course, the Big Ten changed quite a bit a couple years ago with the addition from the four from the West Coast and made the scheduling even more interesting. And obviously, the schedule just released in the Big Ten for 2026. We will break it down and some other news and notes to address. We leave those comments and questions there in the chat. We will address them. Corey Brad and myself right here at Iowa Hawkeyes live right here at the Voice of College Football presented by FanDuel. Catch Corey, of course, each and every day from the Hawkeye of the Storm in the midst of basketball season. Corey, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm better than last week. That's positive. It's a slow time of year football wise. We're going to hit spring football before you know it, but we're sort of in a bit of a, slump right now, if you will. So I'm enjoying just talking basketball, and I've been running through, have another video probably later tonight on some portal additions. I'm just still way behind. I've talked about a few of them, but the portal haul, if you will, was I think a pretty good one collectively. There's always a chance you add somebody, late in this next the regular signing period. I'm not aware of anybody that's on the radar for 26. You could also add somebody in the portal that's still available, but I doubt that happens. It was good to see Mark Gronowski compete well last week at the Shrine Bowl. Caden Weegan played a lot as well. We'll get the Pro Bowl. Well, did we get the Pro Bowl yesterday? I don't even know. Was the Pro Bowl yesterday? I don't watch that crap, so I just...
Yeah, I don't either. It's funny you bring that up because, if the 12-year-old Mark would be sitting here, I could tell you who's playing in the Pro Bowl on both sides and backups and the whole deal. But I completely lost track of that. What do they have, like a touch football game? Who knows what they do? I
have no idea.
It's a circus. It's just football just doesn't lend itself to those kind of things. And some of it might be fun to watch, but until you brought up Pro Bowl just a second ago, and seconds before we came on, I was kind of searching around looking for items, and I saw something about, these number of Iowa players in the Pro Bowl, and that was the first time Pro Bowl came across my brain. So I don't know where we stand on Hawkeyes playing in the Pro Bowl.
Well, Cooper DeJean is probably headlining that as far as the best Iowa. It's amazing his ascension, right, in the league.
Yeah,
I saw some graphic here a couple weeks ago that he was voted as the ESPN says Pro Bowl is at 7 p.m. tonight, according to Andrew Hodge. So why it's on a Tuesday night, they're trying to, I have no idea. But I saw some graphic a couple weeks ago that DeJean is like the best corner in the league right now, or maybe the best. I don't know. There's some crazy, I don't know where it comes from, who votes on that stuff. But that's amazing. I mean, even if that's not true totally, if he's one of the top couple, he's been in the league a couple of years, it is really amazing, his ascension in the league and what he was at Iowa versus now. So it's going to be interesting to see, because Caden Weegan's very much similar to DeJean in a sense that he was so one in a million at Iowa in a different way. Like DeJean obviously played defense, and so that's the big advantage he had. But, Weegan has this just unbelievable skill set that is so rare. And, it was nice to see him in the Shrine Bowl. I was sick last week, so I basically watched anything and everything Iowa, and I was able to YouTube TV it. So I was fast forwarding through the commercials. And unfortunately, they play, with these all-star college games, they're playing multiple quarterbacks, even though Gronowski was the starter. You had the kid that you're going to have to help me with some of these names. You had the kid from Georgia Tech that played as
Haynes King.
You had the kid that used to be at USC that transferred to Louisville.
Miller Moss.
And then the fourth guy. Who was the fourth guy? Oh, crap. I had it. Connecticut. He played at UConn. I put up really good numbers at UConn, but I think he was the fourth string quarterback. But they all played, I mean, that's why they're there. They're going to play. But I thought it was interesting, Mark, your thoughts on that. I guess heading into the game, you didn't watch the Shrine Bowl, right? Is that fair to say? So it was on NFL Network. I watched it. Normally wouldn't, but with Gronowski and Weegen both being starters, yeah, I'm going to watch it. What are your thoughts on Gronowski winning the Shrine Bowl job to be the starter over those three guys, Haynes King, Miller Moss, and then the other guy? Does that surprise you?
Well, the three other guys are not high-level NFL prospects.
Yeah, but I'm bringing it up only because my guess is you perceived both Haynes King and Miller Moss well above Gronowski this past year. That's my guess. Is that your perception would have been that Gronowski would have been behind those two guys.
Yeah. Well, I did not see Miller Moss much this past season. I did see him quite a bit the season before at USC, and I thought they lost a really good quarterback. Now, Jade Mayava turned out to be better just because he can run. So Miller Moss does not bring that element to the table. So Gronowski's got it all over him as a runner. But yeah, Miller Moss does not have like elite NFL arm talent, but he was just always a guy that was very accurate, knew where to go with the ball, was very consistent, that type of quarterback prospect. And Haynes King, though, he's a baller. He's like a gym rat gamer, I'll do anything to win kind of thing.
So
like
Gronowski
to a certain extent.
So Gronowski won the starting job in practice.
Yeah.
And then was the MVP, the offensive MVP after the game. So, I'm not going to read too far into it, but man, he was impressive. Sure. I mean, it wasn't like it was a close call either. It was like he was the guy they kept showing highlights of, laying a block, making a big run, making a beautiful downfield throw. And it's interesting because you go back to that game against Vanderbilt, and the narrative out of that game offensively was, wow, Gronowski looked better than he did in November and October. And so it is, like the numbers say, and we've talked about this, the numbers say Mark Gronowski was a big upgrade over past Iowa quarterbacks like Cade McNamara, Spencer Petras, Deacon Hill, Alex Padilla, all those guys. So Padilla, excuse me. So we've talked about it, but we've also had conversations, and you've kind of expressed that you kind of felt like he was a bit of a disappointment, I think, at times for Iowa with his arm. And I certainly didn't disagree with you on that. There were tons of instances where I'm like, man, this guy can't get going with the arm. But it is interesting, these last two performances. Obviously, you probably read more into the ReliaQuest Bowl performance, but this Shrine Bowl was against some of the best college players out there. That's why they're playing in the game. And for him to win and be the guy that everybody's talking about in practice, and then he plays that way in the game, you almost wonder if maybe that shoulder in the offseason really did affect him through October, November. And it was finally once he hit December and you get through bowl prep that he started to finally get the feel back with the arm. And so it just makes you think, man, for me, I'm like, wouldn't it be great to get him back for one more year? But it is what it is. I mean, I think the bottom line is it was a great addition by Tim Lester and the coaching staff. It's unfortunate that he dealt with a shoulder issue because it does appear that hampered him a bit with his arm. But boy, perception from Mark Gronowski compared to all the other quarterbacks that have moved on is exponentially higher.
So just to clarify things, because sometimes when you or myself or any number of people that do this make statements or express our opinions, they get locked in a time capsule and then people use those against us. So yes, I evaluated Mark Gronowski as the season progressed. So my evaluation of Mark Gronowski today is quite a bit different than it was mid-October. So we talked about this with Elliot Clough in last week's show. I brought up the same thing. I said, my thoughts about Mark Gronowski after watching the ReliaQuest Bowl and even his last few games in the regular season was much different than had you asked me mid-season, is Mark Gronowski a top-level quarterback in the Big Ten or otherwise? And I would have said no. I think I stated on here he's one of the 5 worst passing quarterbacks, not total quarterbacks, but that was 5-6 games into the season. That was not my evaluation by the end of the season. I just thought he got better and better and better and better. And Elliot certainly chimed in with some of the same angles that you did in regards to just health and reps and being comfortable with the offense, and all those things that precluded him from being what he could be because of the injury, and the injury on top of being a new quarterback to the system.
By the way, Joe Fagnano, the quarterback at UConn, put up 3,500 passing yards this year. 3,500 passing yards for Joe Fagnano at UConn, 28 touchdowns, 1 interception. How is that possible? How do you go 28-1?
Connor Shaw did that one time for South Carolina about 2012 or 13, 1 interception the entire season. So yes, that's rare.
And Joe Fagnano began his college career at Maine in 2019. He literally, I'm looking at his numbers, he literally played in 7 seasons. I have no idea how that's possible. That's according to ESPN. He played in 7 college football seasons.
We have some guys coming back this season for a 7th season.
TJ Finley, right? Right? Finley, isn't he one of them?
Finley's been all over the place. Yes.
He's got like 7 schools, all right? He's literally not just 7 years. He's been at 7 schools.
Robbie Ashford.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right about Mark Gronowski. And again, just seconds prior to you jumping on for us to start the show, I saw that he won the MVP of the game. And the first thing that went through my mind was this trajectory just continues to ascend. I think he's just gotten healthier.
And so you wonder, combine-wise, what does he do at the combine, right? I don't know how much combine matters for quarterbacks. I don't know to what extent, but you wonder what he looks like at the combine. You wonder how much do draft scouts, how much do they read into what we just talked about, the ascension, bowl performance. Vanderbilt was pretty much at full strength, especially on defense. So that's got to be a factor. Yeah, I appreciate this, 8-Rock. It's not a gopher hat. I just I promise you that it's not a gopher hat. But yeah, and then how much do you read into the Shrine Bowl? I mean, how much do scouts really care about those games? I know they used to. The Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, isn't there another one? What's the other big one?
I don't know anymore.
Yeah,
but that's how much my life has changed, because the East West Shrine game, I used to watch it. It used to be on Christmas Day.
Okay.
Those were the days.
Yeah, it's in late January now.
The only players that played in the East West Shrine game were players that did not make a bowl game. But this was back when there were actually pretty good teams that didn't make bowl games, number one. Yeah. Number two, if you played in a really early bowl game, sometimes you would just turn around and play in the East West Shrine game, the blue-gray game. It was called.
So yeah, I just, it'll be interesting. I've been wrong before trying to guess where guys will end up in the draft, and I don't really pay too close of attention to mock drafts until we get closer to April. But Mark, I think he'll be drafted. I mean, that's just my gut. I think he'll get drafted. I have to go back and compare. I know that Brock Purdy was a bit of an outlier, but if you compared Brock Purdy's numbers, albeit he played several years at Iowa State, Gronowski's most of his career was at South Dakota State. But if you compare Gronowski to Purdy, and they drafted Purdy late in the 7th round, Mr. Irrelevant, and obviously he's turned into this really good NFL quarterback, which surprised everybody. But even so, I would be surprised if Gronowski's not graded based on his college experience higher than Purdy was. I don't know. Numbers wise, I'd like to look at those two guys side by side. They kind of play similarly. Gronowski's physically more impressive than Purdy ever has been. Very, very, very good escapability, mobility. But yeah, that's a good comp, I think, just from a perspective of where he might land in the draft.
I don't think professional scouts care anything about statistics, like on the field. Now, the statistics obviously have something to do with how good the player is. Now, if they see quarterback X threw for 30 touchdowns, they'll obviously look at the game tape and say, let's look at this. That's obviously a result of the talent. Yeah, I think Mark Gronowski is going to get drafted higher than Brock Purdy.
Well, I mean, again, that would have, if we had said that you don't, I think midway through the season, you probably thought there was no chance he would get drafted. So, but he's got a lot of really good intangibles. And I mean, if he's throwing accurately, what else do you want? He's got good size, again, great mobility, physical guy, great leader. Obviously understands the playbook. He was able to transition from South Dakota State and in one off season really get a hold of Tim Lester's playbook, which is impressive. That's an NFL offense. So I'm intrigued to see where he ends up. I can't help but think that he will be the second quarterback to C.J. Beathard in the last 10 years to make an NFL roster and, be a backup somewhere. It would be amazing if he ends up being a starter at some point, but I foresee him being a very much a CJ Beathard backup in the league. And hey, that is nothing to be ashamed of. I don't know what CJ Beathard's net worth is, but he's had stints in Jacksonville and San Francisco, and he's been a few different places. And I guess he's made pretty good money for sitting on the bench, being a relief guy.
He's making more money than we are.
Well, that's true. But hey, can't you tell from my Bass Pro hat that it's going pretty well here, Mark?
Yeah, you're dressing up for us this week.
Again, I've been sick, and so I've been trying to catch up on work from home. A lot of this stuff, I'm still got kind of that lingering cough, and trying to avoid getting myself too worked up. You know how it goes. A few days after you feel like you're getting better, and then all of a sudden, something like a cough or congestion just lingers, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Don't love the cool. The cool weather does not love me, and I don't love the cool weather. So, but it's supposed to warm up a little bit. It's a little bit warmer today, and the sun's out at least. So,
I love your phrasing of cool weather.
Well, I mean, when you have zero, we were in this polar vortex where we were 0 or below for felt like 2 weeks, and now we're up in like the 20s. So, I consider that cool compared to cold, I guess.
Yeah, the entire country pretty much went through the deep freeze.
Yeah, I've heard that. What was it like in Florida, where you are?
Our worst day was Sunday. Sunday, I was out for breakfast, went to church, then took some tours after church. So I was out quite a bit, and it was like 40-ish and windy.
Yeah, that stinks when you're in Florida and it's 40 and windy.
It was really windy, but it was sunny. It's been sunny this entire time. It's been like there hasn't been a cloud in the sky in like 2 weeks, but it's been colder than it's been for quite some time, I guess.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get out of that together. I saw, not that I care what the groundhog says each year, but Punxsutawney Phil said 6 more weeks of winter. I read. So,
I never thought that was. First of all, I don't believe in it. It's just a stupid thing. But I never thought that was such a horrible thing. Knowing that through much of the North, growing up in Ohio myself, that there could be snow on opening day of baseball season. What is the big deal about forecasting 6 more weeks of winter on February 2nd? That's mid-March.
Yeah. We've had massive snow in April and even May before. I mean, I remember senior year of high school. We had 6 inches on a May school day, and it melted off pretty quickly, because it warmed up. But we had 6 inches of snow on a May day. So anything can happen in this crazy state. So
I guess that sounds like Colorado talking about May snow.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like in recent years we've had these extreme. We've even had January days where I remember a few years back, we had a January day where it was 70 plus and sunny. That's almost as absurd, as May snow. So it happens.
All right, everyone. We appreciate you being here. We get the banner here that says like and subscribe. It's an easy thing to do. Just a couple clicks for you. Please like the video and subscribe. Of course, catch Corey's work from the Hawkeye of the Storm. What does the basketball schedule look like this week?
Men play tomorrow at 10 p.m. Central Time. That's 11 p.m. Florida time because they're out in Seattle. They just beat Oregon out in Eugene the other day, which was a good win. And now they get a Washington team that's dangerous on the road, so they're staying out there late. I mean, that's the latest tip I've ever. I mean, I'm trying to think even football games. We've had like maybe 9 p.m. starts, when they're out in, L.A. or something. But I don't know that I can recall an Iowa athletics event starting that late. So we'll have post-game coverage at midnight or whatever. Got to see who we're going to have, because I know Gary Close is not going to be staying up that late for the post-game. So we'll have to get Jess Settles or someone on for our post-game show. I got to reach out to Jess and see if he's available.
Where can I catch that game?
It will be Big Ten Network.
Okay.
Big Ten Network's been doing, so they have this thing, it seems like every Wednesday, where they do a triple header. So they start at like 5:30, and then they have 3 games, and usually that last game is out on the West Coast. So I don't know, ratings wise, what it does. It's interesting. They have different commentators. Don McLean, if you remember him, he's been commentating the games out west, and I really didn't know anything about the guy until he called the Oregon game the other day, and I enjoyed his style. It was just nice to hear somebody different. With all due respect to Sean Morris, and Jess Settles is great. I love Jess Settles calling games. Who's the other guy that's been around forever? Man, I can picture his face. Played at Illinois. But yeah, I mean, it's Big Ten Network. I do like Big Ten Network's slew of people, but it's nice to have a new crop of people, especially when you're sick and you can't sleep and it's late. It's fun to watch some of those games out on the West Coast. So, and then the women play Thursday. They get Minnesota back at home. They're coming off 2 straight losses. They were their first 2 losses in Big Ten play, so they're 9-2 now in the league. Yeah, I'm not talking about Robbie Hummel, Cheviota. Robbie Hummel was Purdue. But yes, Robbie Hummel would be another guy. I don't know that he's calling games in Big Ten Network anymore. It seems like he's on ESPN the most, and Peacock and whatnot. Stephen Bartle, that's who I was trying to think of for Illinois.
He used to be on ESPN.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good.
He is really good.
And I'm saying, I have a lot of respect for Sean Morris. I think it's amazing. What doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion, is how Big Ten Network has retained their top people for all these years. I don't understand. I don't even understand how that's possible. Like, how do you hang on to Dave Revson for 20 years and, Jerry DiNardo and, Howard Griffith and all these guys? They don't go anywhere. I don't quite. Does Big Ten Network pay that well? Or those guys not have aspirations to? You would think, hey, if you can go work for Fox Central or for ESPN or for CBS, that you would maybe make that move. But those guys just stick around, and I don't know. I like it. I love stability there.
I'm only going to speak to Revson's situation. I won't speak to the other 2. I just think that he's a Big Ten guy. He went to Northwestern. He left ESPN. I don't know what the financial consideration was at the time, but he left ESPN to go to a startup network. He's a Northwestern guy. I think he wants to cover Big Ten athletics.
Mike Hall's another one. He's been there forever. Do you like him?
I have not seen him in quite some time. I can't say that I'm the biggest fan, or was not, 10 years ago, but I'm not saying that he's not good.
Rick Pizzo?
He's fine. Rick Pizzo, yes. He's been around. You're right about the continuity.
Yeah, no, they don't lose anybody at the top.
Yeah.
They don't.
Mike Hall, another Chicago guy, I believe. I might be wrong on that.
Wasn't he on that? I remember seeing a video. He was on some ESPN show.
He won whatever talent show, exactly. That thing called Dream Gig or whatever it was called. Yeah, I remember that. I was at ESPN when that was going on, and he won it. He won the very first one, I'm almost certain.
Okay.
And parlayed that right into the Big Ten Network, and here he is. I didn't know that he was still with them, but
and I think the only reason like Jay Lehman left the network, didn't he have wasn't there some scandal or something?
I don't know.
He's with CBS now, but there was something he said. I think, I don't quote me on that, but he was another guy that, and then the only guy that I miss hearing
I liked him.
I did too. And the guy that I'm mishearing from on football games, who's the former Minnesota coach?
Glenn Mason.
Glenn Mason. He's not doing games anymore, is he?
He's up there quite a ways.
Yeah.
He's a pretty old guy at this point.
But I did start to like him more towards the end, and then he stopped doing games. So
Lehman had he was Jay Lehman.
Illinois.
Certain energy, Illinois linebacker, really good player. And he had a certain swag, a certain energy. I liked his delivery. But now that you run down the roster, it is uncanny how they have stayed together with a core of guys for like 15 to 20 years.
And then there's the next crop of guys like Chuck Long and Rayfeld Davis, and I mean, I'm going across multiple sports now. Trying to think of who else that have been there for some time and they haven't left either. So, yeah.
Josh Perry was really good before they lost him to
Yeah.
NBC.
Where did he? That's right, NBC, and he does. What does he do?
does
Just
the
college.
Sunday night, the
Okay.
Big Ten game on Sunday night, or
Yeah.
Saturday night, Saturday afternoon, whatever their slot, 7:30 Eastern
Yeah.
is their slot. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, and they did announce last week on the Big Ten Network. I guess you didn't talk about it with Clough, but Iowa's 2026 schedule. I mean, we knew who Iowa's opponents were, but just to see the layout, I don't know. I really don't know what to think about it. You've looked at it. It's daunting from a perspective of you could be out of the playoff race by the time you hit your first bye. Your only bye this year, October 17th.
That's
it's
a
possible.
tough run
Yeah, it
out of
is.
the gate.
I mean, you got to go through. You're right. Obviously, you got to go 3-0, right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, right? Northern Iowa's tricky every year. I hate the fact that they keep playing them. It's stupid. It does nothing, but they play them. They get them at home. Should beat them. Should beat Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois has been a really this is not UMass and Albany. This is at least Northern Iowa is going to be competitive. It's not going to help your resume, but they will be competitive. They are every year. And Northern Illinois is typically a really good MAC program. Now, they've been down a bit, correct?
Yes.
So
they've been down, but I will, I think you were going more historically. If you look at NIU's scores over the last 15 years against power competition, it's very respectable.
Yeah. No, they are very respectable. They've had Iowa a time or two. And they played Iowa, I think, up at Soldier Field one year. But they got to go 3-0. I mean, you got to beat Can you imagine if they lose to Iowa State in Kinnick first year under Jimmy Rogers after that? Like, they ought to. I shouldn't say this because it's way too early, and I know look at what has happened at Indiana, but they ought to blow the doors off of Iowa State this year. They should. I mean, they get that game at home against a brand new staff with all new players, second game of the year. They ought to spank Iowa State this year, okay? And that will feel really good if they can do that. But then, boy, at Michigan, home against Ohio State, at Washington.
Wow.
So, I mean, look, if you look at that stretch and say, here's the hard part of it. You look at the stretch and you say, can we win one of those three? Okay, if you win one of those three, then you're sitting with 2 losses and still in the playoff race. But then you leave yourself no margin for error. Now slide down to the bottom half of the schedule. That means then you got to go run the table. You got to win at Minnesota, home against Wisconsin, at Northwestern, Purdue at home, at Illinois, Nebraska. That's doable. I'll tell you, at Illinois is going to be a tough one. That could easily that could be the game. I mean, they could also lose it at Minnesota. I think Wisconsin's going to be better. The Big Ten's just good. But as far as the playoff is concerned, you have to at least win one of those three in the stretch of Michigan, Ohio State, and Washington. And I mean, I think Ohio State's the least likely, even though it's the home game. I don't know you're probably going to give me some better insight on what will Michigan look like under Whittingham in year 1 and month 1. Like, could that be a good time to catch them?
Well, I was just going to ask you, because I think it's just so obvious the way this thing's weighted. Not that the second half of the schedule is any kind of cakewalk, because it's not, but Iowa, compared to all of those teams, excluding possibly Illinois, is decidedly the better team as we stand right now in February.
It is interesting, though. They get Minnesota and Northwestern both on the road. Those are both teams that just won bowl games. So those aren't going to be, like you said, there's not cakewalks there either.
No.
The only cakewalk here might be Purdue at home. But
would you rather face a flipped schedule? Would you rather face all the games that Iowa's supposed to win, Illinois again being more of a 50-50 game, especially on the road, and then just face this November gauntlet because you would have hope? Let's say you're 7-1, 8-1, but then you've got Ohio State, Michigan, Washington on the road, that kind of run to deal with at the end.
I personally believe that it would be better for Iowa's schedule if the gauntlet was in November. I mean, first of all, for a couple of reasons. From a fan's perspective, I want the fans to be able to stay fully engaged
Yes.
as late as they can.
Yeah.
I don't. The worst case scenario here, Mark, is that they lose all 3 of those games, which is very possible. They lose all 3 of those games, and all of a sudden, okay, it's October 10th, and we already know we're relegated to another ReliaQuest Bowl.
Yeah.
Like that's the worst case scenario, and it's very possible.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm in the same place. Yeah. Where I can't answer that question necessarily. It's more of a guess, which is more advantageous for the football team to be facing those kind of football teams. But in terms of keeping the fan interest, you could have another 2025 where this team could be really, really good. And they could be 4-3 after 7 games.
Yeah.
And it's like, eh.
And they may win their last 5 and end up 9-3, but it ain't going to get you in the playoff. So I would say I would rather those 3 be later. First of all, I'd rather them not be all back to back to back, right? I mean, I'd like a little bit more balance there.
That as well.
I mean, especially when you've already played 3 games to start the year. Like if you got a 3 games and then a bye, that'd be a little different. But you get 3 games followed by 3 games, and look, I mean, what's the most winnable there? Probably at Washington. I just on a hunch, but like I said, you get Michigan in September. It is a brand new coaching staff. Maybe you steal that one up in the Big House. It's hard to win up there. I get it, but Michigan's been over the last couple of years very human, very mortal. So it's not that they can't be beaten. And hey, I will say last time Iowa played Ohio State in Kinnick was 3 years ago. And then the time before that was the 2017 game where they blew the doors off the Buckeyes. So at least you're getting them at home. I can talk my way through this and say they have a shot in every game.
No, correct me if I'm wrong, Corey. The 2 games that they've played Ohio State since they blew out Ohio State at Kinnick in 2017, both of those games were in Columbus.
I thought they played them once in Kinnick. Am I wrong? I could be wrong.
They lost like 56-10. They lost like 35-7. Both of those games were in Columbus. They have not played in Iowa since they won in 17.
Okay. Yeah, you are right. I'm seeing this now. Yep. 2020. I was thinking that 22 game was in Iowa, but you're right. Yeah. So they have not played last time they played in Iowa City, Iowa won. And the time before that, Ohio State won that 2010 game by 3 points. So, I mean, Ohio State has not had a lopsided victory against Iowa in Iowa City since 2006. And that was a college game day game that ended up being a disaster. But so, I mean, I don't know. You're a Buckeye. What are they going to look like on October 3rd?
Well, I know how much you look at preseason rankings, but they might be the number 1 team in the country in the rankings. But their schedule is brutal too. They've got USC, Penn State, Michigan, Iowa, Oregon. They've got everybody tough.
Yeah,
it's brutal. But that's tough to look at. Just because, again, I want this team. If they're a legitimate 7-5 team and they're really not that good, so be it. But if they are similar to last year, it would be nice to see them with some hope in November.
Yeah. I don't you think this, I mean, I'm just talking out of my ears here. In hindsight, wouldn't it have been interesting to see them in the playoff this year, just to see what they would have done? I mean,
sure. Of course it would have been. Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, there's a lot of programs that could have said that, especially when you see JMU mainly get dominated. You see Tulane get dominated. I have been an advocate for the G5s to have a shot. I'm not, professing otherwise. But if Iowa had played Ole Miss, Iowa played Oregon in the regular season, it was very close. But I think the Ole Miss game is probably more of an interesting matchup. If Iowa plays Ole Miss down in Mississippi, what happens? That's probably a close game. I mean, do you think Ole Miss was substantially better than Iowa?
No. If you could have chosen one team in the playoff for Iowa to have played, would it have been Ole Miss? Or you were just grabbing a team?
I was just grabbing them because they played Tulane. What were the other? let's see, Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Who else?
Alabama,
Alabama,
Georgia,
Georgia,
Miami,
Miami,
Texas
and
Tech.
Texas Tech. Okay.
Those are all your major conference teams.
I mean, I thought Texas Tech was really good, and then they just got who'd they get shut down by? Oregon.
Oregon.
Yeah, so that's interesting because Texas Tech kind of scared me from the outsider's perspective, but I don't know. I wonder if Iowa could have, if Oregon's defense could shut Texas Tech down like that, why couldn't
Sure.
Iowa's?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean maybe Texas Tech or Ole Miss, but I mean here's the deal: we know Iowa was extremely close against Oregon. I just watched that condensed version of that game back the other day when I was sick. That would have been a game I would have liked to rematch in, and then who's the other one I'm missing? Indiana, obviously. You know, Indiana was it was Indiana, Penn State, and then Miami. The only three teams that really challenged the Hoosiers this year. And
Ohio State.
Well, that's true. Ohio State in the Big Ten title game, yeah. So, are you surprised that Ohio State lost to Miami?
Yes.
You still are surprised by that, aren't you?
The older I get, this is really strange, the less I'm upset watching the game or the direct aftermath of the game, the more I'm like, well, that's fine. You know, life goes on, not a big deal. The more it kind of grades on me as the off season wears on. Especially since I'm in the business of all-time rankings and adding this up and adding that up. And yeah, I wanted to see Ohio State play Indiana again because they played such a close, that game came down to a few inches.
So you have not probably come out with an early top 25 yet?
I have not.
Which I don't know.
Come up with
I don't know why you haven't done that, but I would say this: if you were to rank Michigan in your two early top 25, would they be in the top 10?
No, they'd be in the top 15.
Would Washington be in the top 15?
Yes, close to it.
Okay, so basically Washington and Michigan. I mean,
yeah.
Stylistically, yeah, they're different. Jed Fish returns. Gary Whittingham's brand new there, but as far as like where those teams are talent-wise, perception-wise, preseason, they're probably very comparable.
Yes.
So, like, if you could win one of those games, hey, if you could win two of them, what if they swept? Even if they lose to Ohio State at home, if you could beat Michigan and beat Washington, that's the crazy part about it. I mean, and this is glass half full approach, but as I said, you win one of those three, you're still in the playoff race. You probably got to win out. Well, you do have to win out at that point. But if you win two of those three, I mean, you're feeling incredibly good heading into your bye week. And you're looking at that thinking, we don't even have to be perfect. And we play nobody in the top 25 the rest of the way. Yeah, we got some tricky games, but we don't even have to be perfect. Boy, that would have an unbelievable effect on this fan base. And so, I mean, you can look at it both ways. Getting those games out of the year early, getting them out of the way early in the year could be really positive down the stretch.
Absolutely. I'm on your side with that because I don't have to convince you that for whatever reason, I think it has to do with the style of offense and the pathetic level of offense for about 5 years, that Iowa has to fight for respect nationally, unduly. And if they can compete, win, let's say 2 out of 3, and obviously we're assuming that these 3 teams are going to be as good as they're expected to be. Ohio State's like a top 5 team, and the other 2 are top 15 teams. You know, you're looking at 10-2 or 11-1, 9-3, 9-3 type teams. And if they lost 2 of them, but they were razor close, like last year's games, and then they won the other one, that should even be to their credit. But if they won 2 out of 3, and then they took care of the other games as expected, they should be ranked well into the top 10 in the country.
Even so, if they're 10-2.
Well, I'm talking about at like the midway point. If they're 6-1,
okay,
and they've gone through those 3 teams,
sure,
respectively.
Oh, if they end up, if they were, yes, I agree. If you win 2 of those 3 games, you're easily in the top 10, I would think.
I would hope so.
So, and then the other thing you asked about when you would prefer this stretch of 3 games to occur. The other reason why I would prefer them later in the season is because of the simple fact that Iowa's going to be trotting out a brand new starting quarterback, barring something totally unforeseen. Based on what we've heard, it's going to be Jeremy Hecklinski, maybe Hank Brown or Jimmy Sullivan or Traden Bessinger ends up, one of those guys ends up being the starter. But regardless of who it is, I guess Hank Brown has started games in the past for Auburn, but assuming it's Hecklinski or Bessinger, all of a sudden you're looking at a situation where your first road start is at Michigan. I mean, that's going from 0 to 60. Now, maybe it's not totally 0 to 60. Maybe it's 15 to 60 because last year, had Mark Gronowski been a true first-year starter, that was going 0 to 60 when you go to Ames, right? Because you played Albany in week 1, and he didn't play well, right? And then he goes to Ames and really struggles. But at least NIU, Iowa State, and Northern Iowa, those are probably going to be more of a test than either one of those 2 games that Iowa had last year against Albany and UMass. So, yeah, I mean, I would prefer it be later just because of who is likely to be the quarterback, but it is what it is. You're going to learn a lot about this team in September and early October.
You're getting me excited for the football season. And also, of course, don't count out a win against Ohio State at home. I know that you're giving them the respect of being basically 11-1 every year, but obviously Iowa's played. They just went through 3-4 incredible opponents last year and took them right down to the wire.
Sorry if I said Gary Whittingham. I see everybody's correcting me in the chat. Kyle Whittingham. Who's Gary Whittingham? Why did I say that?
I don't know.
Anyways, but Kyle Whittingham, I had a lot of respect for him too. And I haven't looked at their portal haul. My guess is did he bring quite a few guys from Utah? I mean, I know he wasn't at Utah prior.
I know that Michigan has lost some really good players out of the portal.
And Penn State, I haven't dissected their schedule. It sounds like their schedule is cake in year 1 of Matt Campbell. So part of me would have liked to have seen Iowa play them, although I don't know. I don't want reason for, I don't want to give a guy like Matt Campbell extra reason to get his guys up. And those are all guys who have had success against Iowa, the players that he brought in.
We appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Hawkeyes Live comes your way each and every Tuesday at 4 Central Time. We would appreciate your support by simply hitting the like button and subscribing. And then, of course, checking out Corey's work at From the Hawkeye of the Storm. Keep in mind that when you're here or on From the Hawkeye of the Storm, that the Amazon link is in the description section of Corey's videos, of the videos here on this channel. And you simply can use that link, do your Amazon shopping, and there is absolutely no difference in the process of shopping on Amazon. It instantaneously knows it's you, your account, nothing changes, and you are able to take Amazon's money and contribute to the Voice of College Football and contribute to From the Hawkeye of the Storm without spending a penny. It's magic. Okay. We've got Corey, our guy, Zach Heiny, who gets together with Iowa fans here at the Voice of College Football on Thursday nights, and maybe we'll offer up the schedule to Zach. Zach, we appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, Mark, Corey, thanks for having me on. Corey, happy to hear that you're feeling a bit better. I think I caught whatever you had last week. I also wasn't able to do my show. I was feeling under the weather, so happy to be feeling better.
It's going around, man. It's I've known people here in the last couple of weeks that have had pneumonia, COVID, influenza A, and so yeah, glad you're back as well. And I'm still feeling the late remnants of it, but
yeah,
we're here.
So for me.
Yeah, my guess is it's going around your part of the country as well, Mark. So, but
yeah,
you're a hermit. You just stay inside, right? You just stay
I'm
inside.
A hermit.
You stay inside and slave away on your computer and
yes,
that's me. Your work and
yes,
listening to Elvis.
Yes, you may need to see my odometer reading on my car, but that's quite all right. Zach, we're talking about the schedule. Do you have any
Yeah.
thoughts about this?
Yeah, so when the schedule first came out last week, I think everyone, went right away to that opening of the Big Ten slate and, looking at Michigan, Ohio State, Washington. I think no doubt your three toughest games of the season, back to back to back to kick off conference play. It's kind of a short end of the stick draw there for Iowa. But the more I got to thinking about it, I don't hate it as much as I thought I was going to. I I I I think 9 wins right now is fair. I could potentially see 10 wins if things break your way, if quarterback play is a bit better early on than anticipated. But I like the back half of the schedule. I think the back half of the schedule is a little bit lighter. If you can get through those first 6 games, maybe at, at, at a 4-2, maybe, I could see Iowa potentially running the table in the back half. I mean,
PJ's got
Minnesota.
to win one of these years, doesn't he?
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to say Minnesota just does not. I don't know. I don't. I'm not afraid of going up to Minneapolis and playing Minnesota. It's just not a game that is one that I'm too worried about. Wisconsin, what are they going to be in another year under Luke Fickell, and you get that game at Kinnick? I trust Iowa there. At Northwestern, I think is kind of a sneaky trap game potentially. I really like what David Braun's done with that program in these last couple of years. They're going to have their new stadium next year over there at Northwestern. I know the Iowa fans travel pretty well to the Chicago area as is, but keep an eye on that game if you're looking for a trap game on Iowa's schedule. At Northwestern could be tricky. Not worried about Purdue. Illinois is similar to Iowa. They kind of lost some really big name marquee seniors, Luke Altmaier, Gabe Yakis, Hank Beatty as well. And then Nebraska at Kinnick, we know what's going to happen there. So I feel decent about that back half of the schedule. If you can get at least one win out of that Michigan, Ohio State, Washington, part of the schedule, I think I feel pretty good about Iowa reaching that 9-win plateau and maybe more. And if you get 2, I think we're talking about a special season at that point if you're able to pull that off. But I'm excited about that 3-game slate. It's going to keep things really interesting, here at Voice of College Football and everywhere else within the Iowa community to be talking about 3 big games in a row. So I'm excited looking ahead to it. Already can't wait for football season.
And frankly, Mark, this is just, the reality of it, just like this past season, if you can't win one of those 3, you don't deserve to be in the discussion, in my opinion. You can win out, and 9-3, you didn't beat anybody. In general, like at Illinois, could be a good win. We'll see what Bielema does, to rebuild that roster, especially by the time they play them. It's going to be late in the year, so maybe Illinois is really good by then. Nobody cares about beating Nebraska over the head over and over and over again. Nobody cares about that. If you win at Northwestern, like Zach said, that could be a tricky game, right? Northwestern went to a bowl game, won. I could also see Northwestern taking a nosedive. That's just kind of what they are as a program.
Yeah.
Purdue might be a little bit better. Maybe that's a test, but they should win. Nobody cares. And then at Minnesota, that might be just like based on what we expect, what we know, what's most likely and stable on the back half of the schedule. That's got to be the game. And PJ, PJ's got to be just, he's got to be having dreams every night about, sweaty dreams overnight thinking about how he can't beat Iowa. So that's got to be a game he's got pegged on the schedule. But again, if you can't win one of those 3 against the big boys, they're going to go, even if they go 9-3, nobody's going to sit here. It's going to be like 2025. Nobody's going to sit here and say, boy, they really, if it wasn't so much about, 9 wins versus 10 wins, no, they will not have beaten anybody elite. And you have to beat somebody. I believe you do have to beat somebody elite in order to deserve the playoffs. And, frankly, that brings up the conversation, Mark. Had Iowa beat Iowa State this past year, given what assuming Iowa State finished the year the way they ended up finishing it, I don't know where they would have been in the rankings. I think we would have all been pining for them to be in the playoffs. But they wouldn't have been in the playoffs. That wouldn't have been a good enough win. And to me, that wouldn't have that would have been like this 26 schedule and beating Minnesota on the road. So it's an opportunity is what it is. And I would be surprised if Iowa loses 3 in a row, back to back to back, but 2 of the 3 are on the road, and Ohio State is Ohio State. I was telling Mark before you hopped on here, Zach, that the other bad thing about this is you're going to be starting a brand new quarterback, and first career road start is at Michigan, so that's daunting, right? The nice thing is he'll at least get tested a little bit. This is honestly, Mark, this is like the non-conference is very much like a poor man's Oregon schedule from last year. Oregon played really good FCS opponent, Montana State, and they played Oregon State and Oklahoma State, right? That's what this is. That's basically what this is. Like Northern Iowa, poor man's version of Montana State, really solid FCS program. Oklahoma State is basically like a G5 program, or at least they were this past year.
Last year they were, yeah.
Like Northern Illinois. And then Iowa State is probably comparable to an Oregon State. At least that's what we expect in year one under Jimmy Rogers, especially in September. So they get tested a little bit, but boy, that's going to be an interesting one. And who's Michigan to be starting at quarterback? Do we know?
Bryce Underwood.
It's Underwood.
Okay, Underwood's still back. All right. No.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a challenge. I mean, he's got some experience under his belt now. It'll be interesting to see what the offense looks like in year one under Whittingham. So, and then let's see, Ohio State still has what's his face?
Julian Sayin, and
Sayan's back, and then
what's his face?
And then
and Jeremiah Smith too.
And then Washington, they get DeMond Williams back right after all that saga. So you get 3 returning starters at quarterback in that stretch as well.
Yeah. I will say Iowa just has to make sure that they take care of business against Iowa State. Like that's a game that's just been so frustrating the last couple of years, because I think you could make a legit argument that Iowa's been the better team, and if they play that game in week 6 or week 8, Iowa wins. But because you get them so early in the season, they're ironing out the kinks. Iowa started slow the last couple of years, and they've lost a couple of very winnable games to Iowa State. Now you get them at home, new head coach, brand new roster.
They'll be 14, 15 point favorites in that.
Yeah. And there's no excuses. Iowa's got to take care of business there and just get that little 2-game losing streak to Iowa State out of the way. I mean, you can't lose this game to this version of Iowa State, walking into Kinnick. You got to make sure that you head into Ann Arbor at 3-0. Anything less than that is a extreme disappointment. And, see if you can get one of the 3. I mean, right now at Washington probably seems the most like, maybe at Michigan. I don't know what to expect from Michigan in year one under Kyle Whittingham. It's a great program. They're returning the quarterback, I know, but I just have no idea what to expect from them. And Washington is kind of the same way. But just get one of the 3. As you mentioned, Corey, if you don't get one of the 3, you don't, like, your name doesn't need to be in college football playoff conversations. That's where I'm at with the schedule.
And with those 3 returning starters, Washington, Michigan, and Ohio State, that's also an early test for a group of DBs that are going to be very new to this. All around very, very new. You lose Xavier Wampa, you lose Cohen Intringer, you lose TJ Hall. So you're going to be trotting out these starting corners and safeties that probably won't really get tested all that much against Northern Illinois, Northern Iowa, and who's the guy that transferred up from Arkansas State that's likely going to be the starter at Iowa State? Do you remember his name, Zach? A mobile kid. I know who you're thinking about, but I don't remember off the top of my head. My point is, though, you go from those 3 to Scott Underwood, Williams, and wait a minute. Did I say Scott Underwood? Man, I'm so locked into Train 2020. I always do that, Mark. Always do that. Scott Underwood was the drummer for the band Train in the early 2000s. Why that name ends up coming out of my mouth. But Bryce Underwood and then Julian Sayin. Yeah, again, we use the term 0 to 60. That's Jalen Rayner is the quarterback from Arkansas State that Iowa State got. And they brought in somebody. Who else did they bring out of the portal that's going to be competing with him? Isn't there someone else that Iowa State got? I'm going to find this out. Somebody in the chat will probably beat me to it. Why don't I just wait for the chat? Who cares, right? Let's just wait for the chat, because we all know somebody will. Troy says that I have drops of Jupiter on my mind. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, they got somebody out of the portal at quarterback to compete with Rayner. Rainer's, hey, but he was sort of impressive, Mark.
It's the Oklahoma State kid, Zane Flores.
Flores.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Doesn't
that's
know
right.
him.
Yeah. So those two guys together, maybe. I hope they do test Iowa. I hope they're not I hope it's not an Austin Arnaud type of quarterback for the Cyclones. I remember some of those early, 2010s games or late 2000, 2008, 2009. Some of those Iowa State games were just
Joel Lanning,
brutal.
A Joel Lanning game.
Yeah, Austin
Yeah.
Arnaud, Joel
Played
Lanning.
linebacker. Yeah.
Yeah. And then who's the guy that played in 2000? I want to say like 12 or 13. So before Jacob Park. I can't think of the guy's name. Had a longer name. I think he wore 15. Anyways, yeah, basically everybody before Park sucked. Besides Steele Jance. Shout out Steele Jance and Seneca Wallace. I guess those guys had their moments.
Right, Zach. Thanks for jumping on. I'll let everyone out there know what you've got going here on Thursday nights.
Yeah, Iowa Primetime Live, or the Iowa Call-In Show, I think is what we're rebranding it to, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time, right here, Iowa, at the Voice of College Football. We're taking your calls on everything Iowa football, Big Ten football related here as we wrap up the transfer portal season, get into spring football coming up here soon. So every Thursday night, I host the show, and I open the floor up for fans to call in and talk about whatever they want to, whatever's on their mind, Iowa football related. So it's right there, Iowa Primetime Live every Thursday night, and I hope to see you all there.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, guys.
I believe, Corey, you're possibly thinking of Sam Richardson.
Sam Richardson, thank you. Yeah, how'd you pull that name out of thin water?
I looked it up. Okay. I don't remember him.
Yeah, no, that's exactly who I was thinking of. Sam Richardson. I want to say was he always a quarterback? I know that the Joel Lanning was the line. That was a weird situation too. What a weird. How often do you see a linebacker turned quarterback? Isn't that odd?
That level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Richardson's numbers weren't bad. 18 touchdowns, 9 picks, and then 8 touchdowns, 8 picks.
He was a lot better than. You remember Austin Arnaud?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I remember Iowa State fans would get real up in their own feelings when you'd say something negative about him. But man, he just was not good. And he just wasn't. And then you have Paul Rhodes being an absolute lunatic on the sidelines. I mean, you remember his post-game speeches, like the Nebraska win, and you remember the so proud speeches? I had so much fun with that guy. Oh man, what do you think? Can I ask a question, real quick before we log off of here? So I was at the Cyhawk men's basketball game, right? And Jimmy Rogers was introduced for the first time, and maybe you saw this, maybe you didn't, but this is a college basketball game. He starts talking during a timeout on the microphone PA system, and he says something about we're gonna keep Iowa State really good in football, yada yada yada, and then he says, let's go beat the effing Hawkeyes. And all the students go crazy. And I know I'm not the person to judge because I'm looking at it from the other side. I just thought it was I've heard from Iowa State fans who think it was stupid and classless. Especially when you just have, how many children do you have there? Not that children aren't going to hear the F word in their lives, but why say it? Why say it? Are you just doing it to make? I totally
agree.
It's almost like he was just trying to put himself out there in a exorbitant way that was not necessary. Like, just be classy, go up there, try to hype up the fans, but he's trying to be someone. I don't know what he's trying to do, but the students loved it, but students are stupid. So
yeah. Completely agree. Take a higher road, be a class act. You're a leader. Don't be a fool. Don't be one of the 18-year-olds and how they would talk if you brought them down from the stands to make the same speech. Don't say what they would say.
Right.
Just because you get them riled up and you get them to be on your side for as long as they're going to remember that comment, some of them for about 13 minutes. So,
and nobody's going to, try to act holier than thou. And well, these coaches never swear in practice, but especially from an alumni and fans perspective, your new head coach of the football program is supposed to be a guy, especially given what they just not endured, what they just had for how many years with Matt Campbell. You want a leader among boys, right? A man among boys and a leader of men. So to have that be your first impression, I'm just like, this leaves a weird taste in your mouth. So
Yeah,
I heard I heard from some Wazoo fans on social media, after that first week, they were like, and this dude said the same exact thing to us. So, I'm just like, that's the reality of it. He was there 1 year. I got respect for what he did at South Dakota State. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the opportunity at Iowa State, but it is sort of funny. Like, he did the same thing at Wazoo literally a year ago.
We did talk quite a bit about Kyle Whittingham, since obviously that's a major game for Iowa. And I bring him up in lieu of this conversation because I've got to respect the way he approached his introductory press conference at Michigan, because Ohio State was brought up. And before Ohio State was even brought up, he initiated and brought up his connection with Urban Meyer, because he was under Urban Meyer at Utah, and went on and on about how Urban Meyer and he are such close friends. And Urban Meyer, and he even said, this may be a 4-letter word here, because shoot, Urban Meyer beat him 7 straight times, 7-0. So they hate Urban Meyer. So Whittingham brings up Urban Meyer and actually even says, this may be a naughty word here, a 4-letter word, but I'm going to bring him up, Urban Meyer, because he had so much to do with my coaching experience and my development, and we're still close friends, and so forth and so on. And then somebody asked him later about, if this is who he hates the most, and he was kind of like, he just took it very much like, well, I guess I got to now. That's how he said it. He was just kind of like, I guess.
Well, that was let's be honest. It's very similar to what Penn State did. Michigan was in a very tough situation, and they pretty much got the best that they could. Like, that's you need somebody that's the opposite of what you just, had. And same thing with Penn State. I mean, they got very fortunate. Sounds like they made a run at the BYU coach, and they made contact with other guys to get Matt Campbell that late in the process. I'd say the same thing for Kyle Whittingham. Now, Kyle Whittingham doesn't have the youth that Matt Campbell still has, but he's going to at least give you a 5 to 6 year gap where you can probably stabilize things. And what were we talking about? We talked about this with some other program, but I do believe in that. If you have if the right guy's not on the market, the right young guy's not on the market for you now, can you get somebody who's like a Kirk Ferentz or a Kyle Whittingham, who can at least guarantee we're going to be stable for, even if it's 4 or 5 years? Recruiting's a challenge. I get that when you're older, but I do believe that that's the best route to go in a situation like that. Not that that's the reason Michigan did it, but I'm sure they'd prefer to have had someone who is youthful, who could be a lifer potentially, given what that job encompasses. But I do have a lot of respect for Kyle Whittingham, and I know Kirk does as well.
And so on the docket there from the Hawkeye of the Storm the rest of the week.
Yeah, post game tomorrow night. I guess it'd technically be early Thursday morning. So Iowa Washington men's basketball tips off at 10 p.m. Central Time. So we'll have post game coverage about midnight. And then on Thursday evening, 6 p.m. Central Time, the Iowa women's basketball team, ranked, I think they moved down to number 10 in the country. They'll play Minnesota in Carver. And we'll have post-game coverage after that game as well. And then over the weekend, the men actually play on Super Bowl Sunday, which sucks. I hate that. I don't know why they schedule games on Super Bowl Sunday. I get there's a limited amount of dates, I guess, but they'll play in the afternoon again. So we'll have post-game coverage then as well. And hope everybody enjoys Super Bowl Sunday and the end of football. This will be the last real football game until late August.
All right, Corey, appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark.